Hi, my name is Dan Paulson and welcome to the channel. I am going to be addressing a comment, kind of a question that appeared on the thread after one of my recent videos about sorting through spiritual fluff and avoiding the militant theist. And this was somebody that is venturing out on the path, starting to look inward and go through the teachings of Jesus and realize that they're an internal teaching. Here is the comment. Hi, Dan, I'm on this journey. I felt I was starting healing. Now suddenly I am feeling extremely sad the past few days. All I do is cry and feel so alone. I have not gotten to the core of anything. I have no support system at all. Any suggestions? And I asked the question and the reply was, yes, I need support. I tried to tell my husband I'm very sad, and somehow that meant he did something wrong and he defended himself, which shut me down. No offense on psychologists, but hard to find here without going into all kinds of history. I just want to get to that point, I would love to chat because it feels like, anyway, it goes like, it's kind of that way. Overwhelming sadness, fear, deeper, and can't talk it out with the spouse. And feeling hurt. And I have talked throughout the videos about getting through the wall of pain and shame and getting through things that you don't want to let out of you, and that as soon as you do, you feel uplifted. It feels wonderful to get that off of you. It does, and that does happen. But here's something I didn't cover, and I haven't thought about it very much, but it's an ongoing thing. Because there are times where we have just, I believe, been wired wrong. Okay, let me start here for a second. Think of a physical injury, a sprained wrist or ankle, knee, something like that is incredibly painful. But if you sit or just, don't move a certain way, it's not painful. It's like it maybe nags at you a little bit, but as long as you just sit still and don't mess with it, it doesn't hurt. And that, let's pretend in this case, though, it's not going to self-heal. Eventually, if you have to move, this is going to be hurting. It's always going to be there. But what happens is you gradually get used to it. You just finally, that nagging pain, your brain finally adjusts to it. But when you want to heal it and you go and start messing with it, it's going to be painful. Look at this energy in the same way. Like there's an injury inside, which is really this network of our cranial network, all of our synaptic activity, the things that wired our brain to be what we were, as these connections are being made. And we're looking to interact with them. Presumably what we have, if we're on this journey, we've got some very bad stuff there. A lot of degrading, belittling, demeaning, hurt childhood, abuse. That is our primary core. Now, when we are starting to heal and look at things, that kind of stuff that we're not quite sure of, it's like this big nebulous thing of pain. It's not like an event. I don't want to admit this because it is too shameful. You get over that, you're good. But now we're looking at this big field of what the heck is that? It doesn't feel good. What has happened in life, though, is it's like that injury. We have gotten used to it. We don't look at it. We put it away. We get adjusted to it. We get used to it. Our life, eventually, you're just living at that level of life without knowing that that's what's happening. When you want to change that stuff, those sorts of things are going to be, they're put away in hurt. When you're getting ready to emerge them, they're going to feel hurt. When they come out of you, if they trigger out of you in some way, shape, or form, how do they come out? They're hurt. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're acting out in the manner of the way that they are. When you're starting to realize, okay, that's in me, I got to go get that stuff. It's almost like your ego is like, okay, I don't feel good about this. My protected areas are being threatened. My thoughts are such that they are confused and they are in conflict, which then triggers glands and other things in my body to make me feel a certain way. So now I feel depressed. I feel sad. I feel a variety of things due to that mental conflict up here. And you're going to experience discomfort. And let me see what I've been very depressed. Yeah, I can remember a time where I was like forcing myself to eat one little thing a day because I was just like, oh my God, it was very horrific for me. I was alone at that time, fortunately. I mean, single. And I was working through a lot of things at that time, and it did become very, oh my God, because of that childhood of you stupid, you worthless, that just went on and on and on for years. That's there. And when you go start looking at that stuff, and you've now emerged as a different person, you're like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm good. Except that part is still there. It got put away. And as you're beginning to expose that stuff, it's not going to feel all right. It won't feel good. And that's okay. You're going to adjust. Know that it's not going to be okay. Talking with a spouse can be difficult, incredibly difficult. You guys have a relationship that is based on certain things, and what you're looking at now is some core things that existed prior to ever meeting that person, things that are happening that are outside their scope. You probably belong together because of similarities in a spiritual level more than we might know sometimes. And the potential possibility is that you are starting to emerge things that you're ready to deal with that the other person might think, I'm not ready to deal with this. There is discomfort. There is a feeling like that. It's going to be, it might be very difficult to work this out with a spouse. And that's just the way it is. That's because you have a different kind of a relationship with a spouse. It can be difficult. Just as a side example of something that kind of shows human dynamics, in my life in the last 10 years or so, doing some mountain climbing locally with a friend of mine, and his wife and him they've been climbing quite a bit, but she's like a little lower level, and she would be on some scary areas or something like that. When we were all up there, she would gravitate towards me to help her through them, and he would say, yeah, Dan, take care of it. She just yells. It doesn't work when he tries to help. Pretty soon it gets frustrating for him. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird, but he's a great skier, and we were up skiing. I brought my wife up, and I'm trying to show her, because she doesn't have a skiing background, I'm trying to teach her some things, and the response is not great. He steps in and she's like, okay, I got it. She's listening, and I'm looking at that going, boy, that's the same thing that happened with me and his wife. There's like something different in the dynamics between a husband and wife that I don't know what it is, but that can happen. I don't know if that's always the case. But yeah, the spouse, probably a tough call sometimes. It'd be pretty lucky if we can find a spouse that is like right on that path with us. I actually am not on the level that I'm on. I'm not with my wife on it, and I don't probably need to say more on the spouse and you mentioned the psychologist. Yeah, same thing. They're not only expensive, but a lot of times they've got a system. It's like, no, I'm going to start from the beginning. It's good to talk it out and to have people to talk it out with, but it's also good to understand and recognize that there's a point when I was going through my big changes, I would feel good. I would think, oh my gosh, I feel good. I'm learning things. I'm learning how to let stuff go. I'm learning that, loving everybody is possible. And that's hard, because I always thought, you can't love everybody. There's some horrible people out of there. You learn things like, okay, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about what you hold. And you could say, I love everybody without wanting to be their neighbor or talk to them or anything. Yeah, I don't want to be around them, but I'm not going to hate them. As we're working through those things, we're actually interacting with past thoughts, beliefs, and convictions that are in conflict with new beliefs and convictions that we want to have. And those are going to feel like something's wrong here. They absolutely are. As they are feeling wrong, that means you are emerging it, that can be an okay thing, that it is emerging if it's under your control. Sometimes it emerges where we don't have control over it. It takes us over. Yeah, we hit depression, and suicide and things like that happen to people. Okay, Buddha would say, watch it come, watch it go. As this feeling comes, don't fight it. Look at it. Sit with it. Feel it. Accept the fact that, wow, I feel really bad right now. It's amazing. Wow. How horrible this is. You're kind of just doing a little different mental thing. You're trying to shift into that, the observer part of your mentality, the higher self. What some people claim is your real self, that is exactly who you really are, that what we're fighting with is our perceptions, our physical perceptions that we can't let go of, when we're actually this higher self and we haven't learned that yet. All right, so feeling bad about it is okay if you are healing and you're going after things. There is a point where, when I was going through several years, there was a point where I was going through big chunks of changes. I was single, I was living alone, And I'm in an environment that was just conducive to me having to be able to get out of the town very close by and be in a remote place. So I had time to think through things, and that's what I would do. And that's when these things were happening. And there were times I would be at home thinking, oh, I feel pretty good. And then maybe sometime throughout the week, I would just be feeling this sense of like discomfort, not feeling okay, and nervous about things. And what I began to notice for me is that was like a feeling that was preceding something that was going to emerge. But I was on this path where it was like grab, 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 grab. That's all I was doing. So stuff is coming that way. It's not magical. It's like, this is what I'm focused on right now. I'm just doing this. So things are going to come that way. I had that opportunity. I think most people, married lives, kids, things like that, it's not a realistic opportunity. It took a lot of time. But I can remember just feeling bad. But I also remember, I think I told you that I would want to know what is bothering me. What do I not have a hold of here? How come I feel this way? Or how come I'm acting out this way? How come this thing is something over here that I can't get a hold of? And I would want to know that with intensity. And as I'm walking around in the desert, eventually I realize I'm not thinking about that anymore. As long as you're focused on what you're looking for, you can't find it. You let the cosmos know this is what I'm looking for. But the brain is almost, what I began to do was bring other life experiences into it. I began to recognize certain things, for example, and I've mentioned this before, but the times where you're trying to think of a name of something, a song or an artist or something somehow, some way, and you can't, you know what it is, but for some reason at that moment, you just can't think of it. And the harder you try, it gets worse. And then later when you're not even thinking about it and you're not paying attention, you're doing something completely different, it just randomly pops into your head. That happens. That happens to us all the time. It'll work that way here too. If you want to know something, the answer can come, but you have to be able to have the consciousness quiet or not focused on looking at that answer. You want the answer, but then you don't sit there and look at the answer. Then you go, okay, I'm going to go look at the flowers here. And look at that squirrel climbing the tree. The leaves of this, whatever. Just, you're trying to just get into a different flow. And then you have to be aware something is going to emerge. At some point in time for me, how it worked is that I would realize as I'm walking around, and I'm looking at things, I would suddenly realize that I'm not looking at things anymore. I'm walking around and I'm playing through something in my mind that's from childhood. And I'm like, that's it. That's the name I couldn't think of. It emerges to you and you have to go, oh my gosh. But you have to be quiet. If you're in a really raucous place, your mind has to be quiet in order to hear that. In this case, I think what we're doing is a couple of things. We're looking to heal those big things, but then we're looking to practice. Take time, patience. It's not going to happen quickly. The brain got wired. It doesn't unwire like that. Things have to shift from the old way to the new way. While that shift is happening, there's going to be recognizing of you're going to be surfacing the things that, you're going to be purposefully looking for the things that are hurting you, which means that you're going to feel hurt, which means you're getting close to them. Use that as an indicator that you're okay. When that hurt is emerging as you're approaching something, that's okay. In this case, I don't know if you're approaching anything specifically or if it's just a general state of, I was really treated this way and it's hard to get out of it. So try this. If you have, and I'm just going to throw this out because I don't know what the specifics are. I'm going to go with my own experience and what I think, that most people are hurt because of who their parents or guardians were. Or siblings or, somehow family members, whatever group we were in, if we're hurt, that's where it comes from right there. And what we need to do probably is try to step outside of that and look at the group. Leave yourself in there, ignore that you're in that group. Look at other people in the group and the dynamics of that group and where they came from, where they emerged from, where generation before and a generation before, that we begin to see this pattern of cause and effect and cause and effect and cause and effect, and we are in that pattern. Recognizing things like this, working through things like that, puts our brain in a state that you start realizing, I'm not specific. I'm not an individual victim in here. You start looking at things in a way that makes you feel better. But I know I've covered that and I'm being repetitive by saying it again. But I think sometimes you're dealing with very specific instances that you can go after, and then sometimes you're dealing with this bigger block of, okay, here is what I am at the very core level. And that in the same way that the hurt is there and it takes a while to adjust to it, I think as we're emerging the hurt and healing, the same thing is going to happen. We're going to feel it while we're healing from it. There's a conflict that is there. The brain is organic. I think sometimes it can change just like that. At other times it won't. It depends on what is in there and how wrapped up it is. You know, there might be one single event in somebody's life of, you know, a rape or a molestation or something. It's just devastating to them that they resolve that. But then they could have come from a place where they were just, you know, raised by a narcissist. Maybe they weren't abused or anything, but just told, yeah, you're worthless. You're no good. After the person feels good at resolving the rape issue, they're going to find that, oh my God, now I've got a whole pile of my beginning to deal with that is just really something different. I think perhaps, you know, we don't like to think of the time we spent being hurt, but if you could stop for a moment and think how long you spent being hurt, that's all wired in. It really is. All that time you spent feeling bad was growing bigger and bigger. And that's what we're interacting with. And that as that is coming down and we're interacting with it, yeah, it's gonna not feel okay. And I believe that is all right, as long as there isn't some kind of a significant change or a turn or something like that. And I'm no doctor. I don't know about brain chemistry or anything like that. These are just things that you pull out of the material and say, here's what I'm going to go do. Go to your source material. Think of things in there even go to Psalms. Go all over the place. Jesus says a lot of good things, though. The idea of being at peace, being relaxed, disconnecting from the world, focusing on this, understanding that it's not instantaneous, that it's going to come and go in waves and flood. It took a while to get you a certain way. You're literally rewiring your brain, and that might take a little while. Understanding how it's happening. And if there's something you need to get a hold of right now, yeah, that's something a little bit different. We can work very specifically at that. But if it's like, I don't know, I just feel bad and I'm trying to heal and I'm trying to get, you know, past my hurt and I don't know what it is. Yeah, that's a little bit different. That's the core. That's the core wiring emerging that you're trying to interface with. It doesn't quite have a face it's not as specific because it wasn't in one incredible painful moment. It was just long and spread out and it became normal, but it's not good. Oh, and I want to make sure to remember the past life therapy story. I never had that situation where the issue there was that the woman had something happen in her life that was so tragic to her. She felt so bad about it or for whatever reason, she couldn't remember it. She had blocked herself off from that pain and she couldn't even remember it. And it's destroying her life, but she couldn't remember it. And only through some other processes in a workaround does she finally get to it and everything is okay then. So that might also be a possibility that I don't have any experience with. There are people out there that theirs normal, they would have loved to trade with us. There's people who have given up their lives by doing stupid things because they couldn't get a hold of things. We see that all the time now. A lot of evil in the world? I don't know. I see a lot of broke in the world. I have done things I have acted out in times where I would look back on and go, oh my, I don't know what possessed me. I would imagine there's a lot of that going on in the world today, only people have done things a whole lot worse than I did. And they've given up their entire lives so that they could sit back later perhaps and go, I don't know what came over me. I hate my life. I got screwed. We're broke. We're not evil. There's a little evil. We're mostly just, we don't know what to do. Anyway, individually, as we look at this, keep an eye on all the other things. Keep realizing where you sit in the big picture. That'll help it, I think, kind of come about in your awareness. Or, yeah, it should just help the healing happen quicker. And you'll know that happen. You'll know that because you'll just feel better. Yeah, you'll know that. And then, yeah, again, decide what you want to do at that point once the feeling goes away. But if it continues, keep talking with me. Let's see what we can do. Come up with ideas. Let me know what your experiences are as you try things, what's working, what's not working. We can pass it along to other people. And if other people have got ideas how to do this for yourself, I know people throw Kundalini yoga and things like that out there, but I don't do that. I just sit with it and look at it, which is probably what Kundalini yoga gets you to anyway. And understanding that, this feeling that doesn't feel good. It's like having an injury, except that your heart hurts. So it's a little bit different than nursing a broken bone. Anyway, I hope this helps. I don't know what else I don't know what else to say right now, but I'll keep thinking of things. And as people communicate and throw out ideas, more stuff continues to emerge. So I hope it helps. Everybody love one another, and I'll see you in the next video.